Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to our Choosing the CVerse series video here on the channel. And yes, we finally made it to sort of narrowing down our finalists for the new CVerse save we're going to put together here on the channel. If you're watching the channel for the first time, we have an Exploring the CVerse series, which has been sort of looking at all the companies in the CVerse. We're about 20-something episodes in, I think. So we've kind of looked at all the different ins and outs of these companies, get your feedback on what, how you played with these companies, the tips and tricks, all that. So we finally made it to the point of picking a company to start a save with. And so I made a list of my top 5. And what I want is for you guys to leave your feedback. Ultimately, I will probably make the decision just because, I'm the one that has to put together the long-term save. But I think all 5 of these are pretty similar, and I've got some pretty good ideas for any of them should, there be a clear winner from you guys in terms of which one you would like to see. So here we go. We're going to pick them in no particular order. My top 5, and we're going to do this just by size. That way there is no order that we're going in, but we're going to kind of look at these as they stand. So the first one on my list, and again, this is based on just size, not necessarily saying this is my favorite, is TCW. So TCW gets the first spot in our top 5, and again, just kind of looking at them, comparing them to other companies. If I had to pick between TCW, one of the big 3, I guess you could say, it's kind of always been looked at that way, although TCW's dropped down to medium. I just find them more appealing than USPW or SWF right now. You kind of do a redemption story maybe with the SWF. I don't really want to be USPW, despite liking the roster, because I feel like every game I play sometimes is like I'm always playing as the top group. I want to make it a little more of a challenge to getting to that top spot. So TCW, first spot on our list, what I enjoy the most. And like I said, again, you can go back through, check out the videos we've done on all of these companies, because we have done a video on the 5 companies that I have on my list to this point. So I really like the roster. There's only 37 workers on there, and for me, my goodness, that's a big change from having to book rosters with 100 workers or so from like the WWE AEW saves that we have going on. So I really like that about TCW. You can kind of sort of regroup after losing some of your top stars. That's some of the background here. And again, you are a medium company now, so you do put yourself a little bit at risk of kind of being on the bad side of SWF, which you're declaring war on, and USPW, hostile attitude, so you don't, workers could get stolen away, that kind of thing. But I like the product. Sort of your old school type product, territory days, sort of your classic NWA, Mid-South Wrestling. If any of you guys are fans of that, I like that kind of stuff in terms of the style, the presentation, really going back to sort of legit, kayfabe era. I really like the aspect of that, and that's why TCW is on my list. Roster-wise, if we filter it, I think I called them the 4 pillars in the other video we did. Aaron Andrews, Jay Cord here, Sammy Bach, Wolf Hawkins, although Bach's 41, so you have to keep that in mind. But you've got 4 guys you can sort of build around at the top, and I like that idea. There's a lot of storyline options you can do with that, so I find that interesting. The stables, I do like the fact that the Syndicate, it seems like Hill stables are just, whatever reason, my jam, it seems. I really like the stable, kind of how it's built. And so, I think just in terms of the creative section, there's a lot creative-wise that I would really like about TCW. Event-wise, what would our, these are all important questions to ask about every save here in terms of trying to pick your winner. What would our sort of video release schedule look like? Well, it's only 1 TV show every Tuesday, so not 2 shows a week, thank goodness. You've got your normal event schedule monthly. I may actually change that a little bit, depending on some creative ideas that I have for that. So, TCW, easily one of the top choices, and was pretty much a no-brainer in terms of being on my top 5. And again, 77 is the next range we want to reach to get to big, 72 here right now across the board. So TCW is on the top 5 list. Next up, again, we're going by size here. It's going to be 21CW. This shouldn't surprise no one. If you watch the video that I did in the Exploring the CVerse series, I told you how much that I've enjoyed playing with 21CW over the years. And, I think this would be no different. I just like the roster. I also like the aspect that, Edward Cornell's there, Tommy Cornell's there. What's not to like about the creative ideas you could do with that for the guy that the, CornellVerse is based around, Tommy Cornell. So I like that idea. This is filtered kind of by your top stars. You've still got Tommy here, who's 41 now. Eventually, how could you book sort of a big retirement tour for Tommy Cornell down the line? But you've also got, as you see here, Cornell versus Cornell. I love the idea of booking this feud. So 21CW, to me, would be a lot of fun. Again, if you're looking at kind of the schedule, one TV show per week, the monthly schedule here, and I just, like 21CW, I really like this company, and that's why I said I've kind of played with them. I feel like, in all honesty, probably as much as anybody, just because I don't know why, I just kind of fell into the style, and now having Commie Cornell there, I think there's a lot to like about this company. 80 overall in the British Isles. You're a big company right now. You need to get to 71 throughout the rest of Europe, so that's something else you kind of have to look at, which will take some work. But yeah, I mean, I really think this is a company that's very intriguing, and I like the roster overall. Like I said, I brought them up before. Like, I can remember using some of these workers over the years, and now it's kind of interesting to see where they are now. Like a Daniel Black Francis, Rolling Johnny Stones, all these different people, and so. Yeah, like they're just some very interesting workers, and you've got War Machine here, the 27-year-old beast. So I like the roster in terms of 21CW, and they are another one that was kind of a no-brainer to have on my top 5 list because product-wise, sports entertainment, you guys know I seem to enjoy booking sports entertainment type products, so it kind of connects with what I enjoy the most. So yeah, the Cornell versus Cornell feud, the Tommy Cornell sort of character work, all of those would be very appealing. I think for me, if I ultimately went with 21CW here as the choice. So they, again, with TCW, pretty much a no-brainer here on the list. So up to the next one. But before we get to the next one, I will just tell you, Burning Hammer was really, in kind of a top consideration for me. But ultimately, here's why I decided against doing Burning Hammer. Because the touring schedule itself, I think, is fun to do if I'm just playing the game kind of on my own. I think presenting it from a series standpoint, it may be tougher to do just on the channel. So, look, if there's an overwhelming vote for Burning Hammer and you guys are like, no, scrap the top 5, Burning Hammer is the choice, then sure, we will consider it. We'll look at options. But that's kind of why I ultimately decided not to put them in my top 5, even though initially I thought they'd be there. But I think it's just the presentation of how, releasing videos, the touring schedule, I don't know how great that meshes necessarily. Also considering that we have other saves going on the channel. So that's something else we have to remember on that. All right, so these are our first 2 on the list. The next one up is going to be CWA. And again, I mean, I can pretty much echo what I said with TCW and 21CW. I've always kind of played, with one of the Canadian promotions, and now the fact that they are combined together, I think it makes it more interesting. You can ask a lot of questions here with the CWA. Can you expand beyond Canada? Can we ultimately, and here's what I have in my notes, do I change this to like the Championship Wrestling Alliance, and we are trying to take over the world instead of just being a Canadian-based promotion? That's always an idea. What else I like about it? Product-wise, kind of a variety of styles. It's your classic balanced product here, so you can mix in that north of the border, and the CGC sort of into a hybrid. I like that idea. So it feels like you kind of have some variety there. You do have, a women's division. You have a medium-sized women's division. So I think that's pretty interesting too. Something else I enjoy here is the Tag Team Grand Prix. Used to love booking the Ed Henson Memorial Tag Team Cup and the different combinations I would come up with each year. I can remember just a really long save with North of the Border, which, ultimately was right. Guys, it was a pick-up-and-play promotion because it was really just booking matches. So I remember putting together all those combinations of guys and everything there. And so I think, like the CWA, I really, well, honestly, I'll be honest with you, they are probably maybe the front runner at this point, but I think it's pretty close between CWA, 21CW, TCW, and the other 2 that I'm going to mention here in a second. So that's why I need you guys to help me sort of figure this out. But yeah, awesome tag team division. A lot of guys here. If you go down the list, you'll see how many guys I'm going over that have 100 experience in terms of the tag teams. So I like that idea. You have the DeColt family, the Stone family under one roof. There's a lot of interpersonal, sort of dynamics and storylines you can play with there. So yeah, CWA, another one that was an easy choice for me. These 3 were easy choices in terms of putting them on my top 5. I kind of knew they'd all be there. So it was really just kind of filling out the list from there. But that's not to say that the next one on my list was not, or the final 2 were not, easy decisions, because these were 2 that just sort of jumped out at me as I was doing the Exploring the CVerse series. And so next up, beyond the top 3, is Raw. So this is a unique one because, something we've said, and I think someone pointed it out in the comments. The thing about Raw, it's an Australian company. It's probably going to stay an Australian company. And so you're not really necessarily thinking anything about expanding into the United States or anything like that. And, worker pool to choose from, those kind of things. Like there's some differences there. Of course, what we also know is there's some differences when it comes to the schedule. Although I find this very cool and unique to say, we don't have any events. We just have a weekly TV schedule, and that's it. Like, how do we come up with creative ideas for that? I think that's a pretty cool challenge to make those TV shows, which, again, it's based on a soap opera. How do we make those feel special? And how do we kind of make this just continually to be interesting without any events? And I think there's a lot more, kind of cool things you can do with that. So I like that idea. But here's why this made the list. The Swoop Show. Like, in all honesty, I think it's pretty intriguing to build a promotion kind of, around one top character like this, like Swoop McCarthy, the legend himself. How do we, what could we do with that? What could be kind of the really cool ideas we can work with if we just kind of say, all right, we're going to build a lot of stuff around Swoop. This wrestling soap opera is going to be built around Swoop. What can we do there? And you see, Swoop's stats are what they are. And again, you can check out the video. I'll put all the videos to these companies that I did in the Exploring the CVerse series. I'll put the videos in the description below. You can watch all these. Maybe that'll help you choose a little bit better in terms of what your vote would be. But yeah, Swoop has the star quality. But something else about the roster. All of these guys have so much star quality. If you watch the video, when we filtered it, we're like, hey, 80 star quality. There were a ton of guys that have like 80 or higher star quality. So, and what's interesting about that is because the product is wrestling soap opera. 50% matches, 50% angles. Like the wrestling, and theoretically, right, we have the 15% wiggle room. We could go 65% angles, 35% matches. So, we could really be pushing the characters and the stories here more so than the actual wrestling. But I do find the fact appealing of having Swoop and having a lot of other sort of stars we can build in terms of the character development and having one weekly TV show. And how do we make that different? How do we sort of, present that in such a unique way that it sort of captivates, the audience? I think there's a fun challenge there for me. So that's why ultimately I didn't think Raw would ever make this list, but it does because it's different. And, may not be your first choice necessarily, but it's probably one of the more different choices that could result in a pretty fun save. So, all right, so we've got our 4, TCW, 21CW, CWA, and Raw. The final one that made my top 5 is New York City Wrestling. NYCW, I think I said this initially, and someone may have mentioned this in the comments too on that one. So the thing about NYCW is it's New York City Wrestling, right? A huge name, a huge city, and so I think you can expand from that standpoint. How do we expand this into a national promotion? Now, it's not going to be easy because your size initially is a tiny size, right? You can get to small pretty quickly here, but the road to a national big promotion is a long, long road. But, that presents some challenges, but also presents some opportunities in terms of looking at just kind of where the company stands and the different sort of workers, the style, the product. The product is pro wrestling from 1976. So you're treating it full-on kayfabe, legit wrestling, but you're starting to bring in the entertainment aspects and the showmanship and those kind of things. And what I like about that is, how can we bring that in? Why having a stable like the DeMeo family could get you there, because sort of the mafia references, so you're building around the family and all of this. So you've got Sal as the leader. You've got a really interesting group here. There's a lot of fun stories you could play with that group. I laughed about it with Sal. I'm like, Sal's 23 here, going on 40-something. Sal's lived a rough lifestyle to this point in the family. But I think there's something to that. Like, we could go full on, again, just sort of your mafia references, all this other stuff. It could be very interesting to do if we decided to go with that as the save. But this one's a little more old school, and I would present this in a very old school type manner. So that may appeal to some people, may not appeal to others. But I do think this could present the most flexibility because we could, change a lot of things and say, we're going to change the product. We're going for like the Vince McMahon full-on expansion, and we're going to try to be the top company in the world. What changes do we need to make to do that? So, yeah, I think that's, interesting to look at. And, of course, you don't have any TV shows with this one. It would just be an event schedule. So that is also something that's a little bit different. Whereas you've got TV shows with TCW, 21CW, CWA. Raw's got nothing but a TV show. NYCW doesn't have a TV show because it's a smaller company. So it would present the biggest challenge, but I do think there are some intriguing aspects if you want more of an old school type save here on the channel. I think this would fit the bill in NYCW, and a lot of flexibility there on that. So, all right, so there are my 5. TCW, 21CW, CWA, Raw, and NYCW. That made my final 5. I want you guys to give your feedback in the comments below. I may actually put together a poll too in the community section, so you can check that out, kind of leave your vote there, and we'll see kind of what the numbers are. Like I said previously, ultimately, I'm probably the one that's going to have to make the decision on this. So if, the votes are close, I'm like, all right, well, I've got to make the choice here. Because ultimately, like I said, I'm the one that's going to have to make this into a long-term save, and creatively, I've got to come up with ideas to make sure we can pull that off. So I want your feedback. I want your opinion, because I'm curious to see where you guys stand, which companies you find the most intriguing, and then I will make a decision on which one we're going to choose as our official first CVerse save here on the channel. So be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. I appreciate you guys as always. Exploring the CVerse series has been so much fun to get your feedback and thoughts on everything, and I want the same here for this because I know some of you guys are really excited about us finally starting the CVerse save. And as a spoiler, I do have a real-world save that I am going to be launching a new one. Yes, it's going to be more of a what-if scenario, though, on the new save. That will be coming out soon. I've already done the video on it. I'm just deciding when to release it. So a few new series coming to the channel here, and that'll join the WWE AEW series as well that we have active. So a lot more stuff to come on the channel. So if you enjoy pro wrestling, you enjoy TEW 2020, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys, as always. So appreciate it, as I said, and we will figure out who we're going to choose as our new save in the CVerse. Leave your feedback on that, and we'll talk to you again here soon on the channel.